Welcome to TruPowur, home of the most powerful marketing tools, training, and technology on planet Earth. Get ready to earn, enjoy, and experience more than you ever dreamed was possible. If you're tired of just getting by and ready to really thrive, then buckle in and listen up. Here's your host, Matt Fox.
Well, welcome everybody. It is a wonderful Saturday. It is February the 12th, 2022, and this is training episode 225. And I have to tell you that I love my job and I love the people that I work with and the customers that we help. And so we've got some great things to cover today. And so anyways, glad that you are here. And so let's get started and look at the agenda. So I am going to share my screen. All right. So the topics being covered today is a deeper dive into the agent quick launch menu, which we will be going over some general areas of the CRM and dialer, the pricing platform for both the residential and commercial, the general overview of the free solar program, and then an overview of the email platform. And we're probably going to go into some of those subheadings as we go through the quick launch menu. And then we'll end with a Q&A session. And just so you know, if you're on one of these calls, you know that we always have a Q&A session at the end, but that stuff does not get loaded up to YouTube. So feel free to talk about any kind of deals that you have questions about or anything along those lines. And so right off the top, I am going to start by looking at the quick launch menu and going down the right side, which is predominantly more support than the things that you use on a daily basis. The top here is very handy tool. I use it all the time in setting appointments. So if you need to be reminded, it's very handy to select a time when you need to have an alarm set. It also kind of gives you a good idea of when those holidays are going to happen. And you've got a lot of things that are handy there using the alarm. The PDF tools I use on a daily basis. This allows you to merge PDF files, split them up if they're too large, compress them if they're too large, convert them to a Word file or a PowerPoint or Excel or a Word doc. Or even if somebody sends you a document or a picture of their electric bill and it's in a JPEG and you need to convert it to a PDF, then you've got that tool right there. So there's a lot of things that are handy in the PDF tools. So now the ESID search is really more so for Texas customers. Just because we need the ESID number when we're working with a customer, especially on the commercial side. Don't need it for the residential, but for the commercial side, it's a very simple tool. If you put in the customer's zip code, and once you start typing in the address, it'll start populating. So as soon as you recognize the address, then you can see that the ESID number is there. So sometimes if you have a bill that doesn't have the ESID number on it, this is a good way to find it. Or if you just want to verify that ESID number. So that's a very handy tool for the Texas market. If you're in the dialer and you seem to be experiencing some latency, or maybe if you're having a hard time hearing the customer, or the customer's having a hard time hearing you, come over here and just quickly check your speed and make sure that your system is running optimally. So that will kind of give you a good idea as to if that's a software issue or an internet issue. Past Zoom trainings, that will take you to all of the past Zoom trainings that are available. So you can scroll down the side of them and then see sales calls is something that we're continually adding more and more of the sales calls so that you can actually listen to how to do the sales calls correctly. And we're going to continue to add to that. But it's very simple. This is really the way that you should be making those calls. You have the ability to mimic or take information from that those sales calls and use that to better how you communicate with your customers. The calculate annual KWH is something that we'll refer to again when we get into the CRM, but this allows you to actually take the square feet of a building, the type of building. So if it was an office building, then a 1,000 square feet office building should average about 18,000 kWh annually. If they were paying 9.5 cents, then their monthly bill would be about $143 or about $1,720 a year. So that would be obviously a very small business. So we'll refer to that again a little later. The corporate website, which I'm sure everybody is aware of, but there are some things that I think you could look at and have in your arsenal, especially when you're talking to customers. Take some time and click on our services, which is right here. And these are obviously, we do the energy markets, suppliers, commercial, residential, contract negotiation, rate analysis. But there's a couple things that I think a lot of times people do forget, and that is that we do power factor correction and retrofitting for LED lighting for commercial properties. So the power factor is really kind of unique because if a customer is in an area where maybe there is no deregulation, but you can do the utility audit because you can do the utility audit in all 50 states, Canada, and Mexico. Does not matter whether it's regulated or deregulated. This also affords you a second opportunity after looking at that bill. If they have a bad power factor, then we can educate that customer and let them know that if they were to put in capacitor banks into their business, it's going to take that power factor and correct it. Plus, it is going to clean all of the lines and surge protect the entire property. So I'll give you an example of a customer that we had in Frisco, Texas, which is handled by CoServe. It's not deregulated. I happen to be on the board of the Texas Legends with the owners, and they asked me to review the bill. And I said, well, I can't really do anything for you immediately on the electric side because you're not deregulated. However, after looking at the bill, found that they had a horrible power factor. And by adding in, $47,000 worth of power factor correction, that was able to change their bill $15,000 a month. So take some time, learn a little bit more about some of the things that we have that are available. And then, of course, LED lighting and retrofits, whether that be air conditioning, LED lighting, motor controls, Lubricity Pro, which is a reconditioning of the HVAC system. So that can be a handy additional revenue stream down the road. Lastly, on the right side is the utility audit resources. Now, the resource page is very similar to the reference page. The difference is from the quick launch menu, you are going to get the additional sales resources where your customers that look at the reference pages are just going to see the brochures, letters of reference, audit, and case studies. This is some valuable information. It is also available in the CRM, but you can see that if the customer goes to references, they're just going to get the brochures, letter of reference, case study, and audit checklist. So that's very handy for you. And unless they have access to your quick launch menu, they won't have access to it. So there's no link on the website that will actually take them to that page. On the left side is getting more into the actual business. And so if you click on the top button, number one, it is going to open up your TruPowur email. And so we've added some things into the email. And so you should probably see that by now. But so this is, you don't have to load Thunderbird anymore. Everything is online. And so that makes it very easy. You don't have to download anything. And so you've got the ability to send emails, receive emails. One of the things that we just recently added is the contact tab. And so from there, if you're needing to contact myself or accounting or support or the utility auditors, you have access to that as well. So that makes it very easy for you in conducting your business on a day-to-day basis. The TruPowur Pro CRM and Dialer is really where you spend most of your day. And so when you log into the CRM, it is going to pull up, after you log in, it is going to pull up the high-level dashboard, which is just an overview of what you have going on today. And let me just kind of go backwards and tell you a little bit about some of the tabs that are available. So starting with the video tab, you've got some information there. So if you need a refresher on the CRM, just click on there. There's a video for that. Pricing platform, there are several videos that can kind of walk you through some of the changes that have taken place in the pricing platform. And then just for your own edification, we do also supply some holiday videos that you can use in your marketing efforts if you do social media, that kind of thing. Upcoming tasks, this is going to, obviously, if you have appointments and things like that, the system is going to email you every night what you have scheduled for the next day. But you can always log in from anywhere, look at your upcoming task and have an idea of when your first calls are and who you're going to be talking to. Deals lost, deals won, hot deals on the board, and of course, the dashboard. Under the Documents tab, there are several headings here, and under the TruPowur Start here is the welcome packet and some information on prospecting, scripts for commercial, residential, overcoming objections, energy industry training, understanding load factor and capacity tags, energy units, and some of the from 10 through 20 are some of the default emails that are used in the system so that you can get a good idea of what the customers are looking at when the system sends an email. And just so that you know, anytime the system sends a customer a response or an email, it always sends you a blind copy of that, so you know what the customer is receiving. Under the utility audit, you've got scripts and utility bill auditing and a bunch of different category brochures that you can use in your marketing efforts. And so take some time to look at those, understand them, and how you can use that to your benefit. Solar, more information on the solar program. The solar program is pretty straightforward, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And of course, the training and helpful information. Under the training tab is a PDF where you can look at a lot of the past Zoom trainings and have access from there. So you got access to most everything from the CRM as well as from the quick launch menu. So the help desk, probably the quickest and fastest way to get something to support and their attention is just to simply email support at TruPowur.net or TruPowur.com. Either one will get to support, or you can submit a ticket and they will follow up with you. And so that will stay within the CRM, so you'll see it and it'll notify you. Under the tools, you do have dialer matrix, so you can keep track of how many dials you're doing, what is your performance, email matrix, so that you can see how many emails have gone out, what the open rate is, the click rate, instant replies, anything that's going on with email. It is going to keep you abreast of what's going on. Visitor matrix, visitor tracking, template matrix. And so it is going to keep you abreast of everything that goes on, because anything that the customer clicks on or opens is going to relay that information to you. So you'll know exactly what links they're clicking on, when they're clicking on them, when they open those emails. So you're not spending a lot of time calling people back, asking them if they've had a chance to look at the email. You'll know because the system will notify you. The calendar is, again, tied into all of the appointments that you have scheduled. And so if you have appointments set up and you know that it is scheduled for 10 a.m., you probably need to be on the phone before that. So you have the time to do that. So this will keep you posted of everything on your daily calendar for appointments and tasks. Being able to add a new lead. If you have a self-sourced lead and would like to add it into your CRM, you are more than welcome to. If you have a personal list where you have a lot of them, as long as it's in an Excel file or something that can be converted to an Excel file, support can upload those for you. But if you've got, 2 or 3 and you want to put those in by hand, feel free to do so. One of the things that I would tell you, though, is when you come down to select the lead source, make sure that you put in that is self-sourced, so it'll make it much easier to locate at a later time. So you'll be able to keep those leads separate from the rest of your database. Otherwise, when you log in and you're ready to start working through the day, you click on your leads. And from here, it is going to show you what leads you have available. Now, from the looks of this, it looks like I really have only 2 leads. One which looks like I've won a utility audit, and another one which is a fresh lead that I haven't contacted. But if you have requested leads from support and they've added them to your system, then they will send you an email with instructions on how to find it. But in this case, I happen to know that I have some leads that were added to the system from Massachusetts. So if I come down to the lead source and I'm looking at commercial and I look at Massachusetts and then hit search, I can see that I've got 250 customers in there that are fresh leads. Or if I just want to set this to all sources and leave it like that, then I'm going to see everything. So that one lead that I had earlier that was from Texas plus the Massachusetts are now combined into all of my fresh leads. And then, of course, the one that I have won. Now, as soon as you click on that, all you need to do is start right there at the top. It is going to pull that customer's information up. And so you're going to have their contact information, phone number, and a couple of things to point out is that you're going to have their utility expenses and their square footage. So you can see that this is obviously not a very large business, and it is roughly 1,500 square feet and under. But if I'm curious about that, Action Fitness sounds like it might be in a strip mall or something like that. I can always click the map and get a visual of it. There it is. So it is just a tiny little place. So you can see that it is probably not going to be a huge bill, but nonetheless, these areas down below are really for your own edification. So if you're closing this deal and you know what the upfront commission is, you can put that in there just as a reminder, or the estimated monthly recurring revenue. You can put that in there as well. So if you have a customer that you've facilitated a contract and you've chosen upfront commission, you might want to keep track of that, as well as if you've chosen to get monthly recurring revenue, then you're going to want to probably keep track of that as well. Now, it's going to keep track of all of that in the pricing platform, but since you're in the CRM, from time to time, you're probably going to want to look at that stuff. Terms of the contract, you can certainly put that in there, and then what their new rate was. If they do have some of the social media like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and you want to put those links in there, feel free to, or their company website. You have a place to put in their mobile alternate numbers and those kind of things. Now, when you are making calls, it is a very simple process. So all you need to do is click this button. It is going to dial the customer. So I don't want to actually call the customer, but once you're done, it is going to allow you to select the call outcome, whether there was no answer, the line was busy, hung up, left voicemail, left a live message, voicemail drop, gatekeeper reached, whatever the result is, you can put that in there. One of the things that you might have noticed, and I'll do it real quickly, but there's also another button, which is called the voicemail drop. So as soon as it starts to dial, you can Matt Fox drop. And so if this had gone to voicemail, the minute I heard, "Hi, this is Sal, I'm not available," all I need to do is click that voicemail drop. It will disconnect the call, and now you can go on to the next call. It'll wait in the background and then leave a pre-recorded message that you've recorded. We give you the script to do so. And so that's very handy. And so those customers can call you back, and it will pop up as soon as they call you back. Before we go to the next customer, there's one thing that you need to do, and that is to change the current lead status. Otherwise, you're just leaving all of these customers in the fresh lead status. So in this case, you have in progress, first call, voicemail drop, second call, voicemail drop, emailed the first utility audit request. There's one that's personalized. There's one that if, say, the receptionist gave you their email, so you'd want to use the one that was referred by somebody. So Because if you start sending an email like you know them and they don't know who you are, this email actually tells them that you were referred to them. And if you're in prospecting, left a message with the receptionist, left a message with a personal assistant in case they didn't have voicemail, or it was a first call, no answer, no voicemail, try again. Or you could schedule a meeting or a Zoom. But in any case, you want to make sure that you change the status. So if I change the status to first call, no answer, no voicemail, try again, and save that, when the next time I come in to start working and I go to my leads, now I have another tab here that says prospecting, first call, no answer, no voicemail, try again. So anybody in this category are people who there was no answer, no voicemail, nothing that you could respond to. You couldn't leave a voicemail drop. You couldn't talk to anybody. And so these are people that you're going to want to follow up with again, but probably at different times. So if I go through this list, maybe tomorrow, if I decide I'm going to work my first call, no answers, I might do it early in the morning. And then the following day, I might do it at noon. And the third day, I might do it later in the afternoon or in the evening. If I haven't gotten anything by the third call, I'm probably just going to result that as lost and move on. Or you could try to continue to follow up with that customer nonetheless. But if we go back into our database, so some of these will have their emails, some of them will have their website information. And so as you're making those calls, you just want to make sure that you continue to change the lead status so that it will continue to pull those out based on where you left off in the conversation. So I think that's a huge help. And again, using that square footage, you can see that this customer has a utility expense over $100,000, and the square footage is over 100,000 square feet. And this is Action for Boston Community Development. I'm not quite sure what that is, but if I look at their website, that might give me a good idea as to what type of business that is. And so once I know that, then I can take this information, go back over to my tool where I can calculate annual KWH and then put that 100,000 square feet in there. Whoops. And depending on what type of business that is, if it was food services, then you can see it's going to crank the bill up pretty good. And so they're spending $31,000 a month or $372,000. Now that's based on 9 cents. So they might be at 6 cents. So that will adjust those numbers for you. So just a handy tool that you can refer to if needs be. So I think that in making your calls, the one thing you do not want to do, and that is mess with these 3 tabs, unless for some reason you accidentally put a Massachusetts customer into the wrong category. So, or the business moved and you updated the information and you needed to take it out of Massachusetts and say they moved to Illinois. So you could actually put that in Illinois. So now it's in the Illinois database rather than being in Massachusetts. So a lot of control that you have in the CRM and what you can do is huge. So let me go back over here to this and let me go back to self-sourced. And so if I look at this fresh lead here, because this has an email address in it. And so if we are going to send this customer an email, all you need to do is click on the send email icon. It will open up the dialog box for email and select from the templates. You can send a general email, which means you can edit it, or you can use one of the pre-templated emails. So if this was a personalized first utility audit request, it is going to automatically populate the customer's name in there, their business name, everything that, and your information is going to be in there. So all you really need to do is click on first utility and then click on send. There's already a brochure attached. Now, if the receptionist says, well, Mr. Johnson is not available, he won't be back until next Wednesday, but here's his email address, go ahead and send him whatever you need, then you want to send the referred by somebody template where it says, I was referred to you as the person who handles the controlling the cost of the business. And so it is still going to personalize everything, give them some information, but at least it lets them know that they were referred rather than you trying to contact them directly. Second utility audit request as a reminder, a third reminder, supplier savings, additional audit cost centers, and then of course, if you're doing any residential customers, then, and we'll go in that in a moment, there is a link for that customer to redeem their $500 in restaurant cash if that so fits. And so since we're talking about it, let's talk about the scripts that are here at the top. So right here under audit, you've got the utility audit, which is how we open for commercial customers. We use the utility audit because it's a much softer, friendlier, easier approach. And then once we get a copy of that utility bill, then we'll look at going to the second step after we've submitted that to the auditors. The residential side, I would say that if you're spending probably no more than 20-25% of your time on residential is very, very easy. It is like giving candy to a child. And so they're very easy. You don't obviously make quite as much money in residential as you do in commercial, but they are quick, they are easy, outside of the fact that typically residential are going to be after hours. So after everybody goes home at 5 o'clock till a reasonable time, 8 o'clock at night. You don't want to be calling people at 11 o'clock at night. And so either early morning before they go to work or after they've come home, or on the weekends if you're just wanting to pump it up. And so just to give you kind of an average thought, if you are acquiring a minimum of 2 residential deals, you're more than paying for your agent license or broker license. So they're very, very easy. So one of the things that you can do to kind of augment or increase some of your business and get some quicker satisfaction is to do some residential, which is pretty straightforward. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Matt Fox with TruPowur in the State Energy Choice Program of whatever state I'm calling. We'll say I'm calling Illinois. The State Energy Choice Program of Illinois. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but rates in your area are at an all-time low. And our company is offering an amazing opportunity that you just can't lose. And here it is. Grab a copy of your electric bill. And if the rate on your bill is lower than what we have to offer, our company will give you $500 in restaurant cash. Now, if our rate is better than what you're currently paying, we'd like for you to take advantage of it and save some money. But either way, you win, right? Amazing. So grab a copy of your bill let's see where you stand. What do you have? And I'll hold. So once that customer gets it, obviously you can already have taken this customer's zip code, go to the quick launch menu, open up the residential side. We use the front of the platform and put that in there. So as soon as that customer is back with their bill, I've already got this pulled up. So the customer tells you that they pay 9 cents. Hit requote, and now it's going to show you how much money you can save that customer. All right. So in this case, if they're at 9 cents right now in Texas, the rates are kind of high. So I wouldn't be able to save them, but I wouldn't be calling Texas because the platform is going to identify a different area for us anyway. We'll go over that in a moment. But at least you know how to navigate back and forth between a couple of the platforms and being able to grab that zip code while they're getting the utility bill and plug that in there. So that would be if this was residential. On commercial, we use the front of or the back of the platform. So this is commercial. So when you go into commercial, you use the back of the platform, and on residential, you use the front of the platform. So on the front of the platform is public facing. Anybody and everybody has access to that. It is at TruPowur.com. The one thing that you need to remember the first time you come here is to put in your sales code. So if your extension or sales code, your login ID, they're all the same, is 777 or 888 or whatever your number is, apply that. You'll see it applied right here, and it will stay there until you cancel it out. But even if you close this and come back at a later time and open that window, it is going to automatically apply it. All of the links in your email signatures, although they look like they don't have those codes tied to them. If you actually looked at the information in here, it actually is tied. So if they click on it, it's going to automatically put in that code for you. So if they're using any of your links, it will automatically do it for you. So that's very handy. So, on a high level, using the front of the platform for residential, using the back of the platform for commercial. Do not put residential deals in the back. Now, the reason you want to make sure that you put that code in there is so that when that deal goes in, it will automatically put that customer into your back office. Now, if you put a customer in and for some reason you forgot to do this, just let support know, let them know, just say, hey, look, my number is X, customer, Frank Johnson at 123 Main Street. Obviously, you're the only one that's going to know that information, and they can move it into your platform. So once you have entered any deals through the front of the platform, they will show up in your back office. So anyways, you have the utility audit, the residential script, commercial script, solar script, and the customer information, everything at your fingertips. And for the most part, I would say that 98% of your time is going to be spent right here working with customers and taking care of their needs. Down below is a place for you to put in notes so you can keep track of what's going on. Anything that you do in the system, update, change the status, do a voicemail drop, make a call, anything is going to be added down below. So if you've made some phone calls, you can click on recordings, and then you can go back and review those calls and listen to those calls. And so that's always handy for you as well. So that'll keep a running record of everything that took place with the system. Speaking of which, when we are working with deals and say you're wanting to practice, do not put in fake deals in the live pricing platform, front or back. If you want to practice, we have a demo pricing platform that you can use for just kind of practicing. You can't hurt anything because it's not actually tied to the suppliers. So it is just a demo site. And then you have the demo commercial platform where you can put in a deal just to kind of see how you walk through that process. And so that is available down here as well. So a couple other quick things to cover. You have all of your social media down here at the bottom. And then if you need any assistance, any changes that need to be done, if you have a change of address, go to accounting. And in here, you have a place where you can make any kind of changes, whether it's a change of address or credit card, or you need a change for your direct deposit, or whatever it is that you need, you can access that right here. So want to make sure that everybody is aware of the accounting link, which is very handy. So we covered the email, the CRM, and then so once we've made contact with that customer through the CRM, we're making that first contact for the utility audit. When that customer responds back with a copy of their utility bill, we're going to upload it to the auditor. So click button number 3, which is going to pull up the page where you submit for audit. And so you put in your name, your email address, and then the customer's name, title, email address, and phone number, and then the company information below that, and then what type of business it is, along with any notes that, what kind of description the business. A lot of times if I go to a company website and I see an about tab, then I will look at that, and a lot of times I will just copy and paste a paragraph of what the company is about in there. And then if I'm submitting an electric bill, I'll click on electric. And then from down below, the auditors are going to want to know at first glance, what is the size of the monthly bill? And so if they're 25,000, then just put that in there. And then you have a place where you can drag and drop the bills on there, or click and find them wherever you have them stored on your computer, and then submit that for audit. Anything, again, that gets submitted to the auditors, a copy of that will be emailed to you as well. So you will know that it actually went through. So when you look at the commercial sales cycle in phases, which is printed down below the menu, then we're going to contact the customer for an electricity utility audit, and then submit the utility bill, making sure that it is in a PDF format. Enter the customer's electric bill and information into the pricing platform to create a proposal. When you get your first utility bill, the auditors will let me know. I typically will get with you and walk you through that next step, which is very simple. I would much rather walk you through that process than for you to try and do it and second guess yourself, or not include all the bills and think that you have to put them in separate transactions. So we will walk you through it and make sure that you have that assistance. Once that is done and we've facilitated potentially a new electric contract, then that's when we're going to want to go back to the customer after everything's side sealed and delivered, then that's when we're going to want to go back to the customer and let them know that all is progressing well with the audit. However, in review of their account, I can see that there are actually some additional cost centers that have the potential to increase the amount of the refund. They're usually going to want to know, what do you mean by that? Well, as you know, we have the audit underway with your electric account. Let me ask you, do you use natural gas? Nope. How about water and sewer? Yes. Waste removal, like dumpsters, that kind of thing? Absolutely. Telecom, wireless, shipping, freight, financing, cost segregation, payroll, 401k, health insurance, workers' comp policy premiums. Any of these additional cost centers have the potential to increase the amount of the refund. But you don't want to talk about that on the initial phone call. It will boggle their mind and they won't know what to do. It's hard enough to get somebody focused on a utility audit and not get it mixed up with the idea that we want to renegotiate their contract. We're actually looking at going back up to 4 years, identifying the errors that are on that bill and below the bill that are not visual on that bill. So when you have some time, take some time and listen to these sales calls. I think that will help you tremendously. And we'll continue to add more and more in there as time goes by. So you do have the commercial pricing platform. And in the commercial pricing platform, there's a couple things to note. First off, up here in the financial profile, that is going to give you a high level view as to where you stand. And so you're going to be able to see what are your reversible commissions, estimated commissions for February, estimated future commissions, and actual commissions paid from January. So it's always going to look at current, past, and future. So what are reversible commissions? Well, you'll notice that there is a line here that's called a power score. And so you have the ability to choose contract to contract, customer to customer, whether you want upfront or whether you want residual. So one or the other. Pre-COVID, we used to get the first year up front, and then the following years was paid out in residual. The suppliers were a little nervous that COVID was actually going to be a lot more harmful than it has been. We haven't seen businesses fail like they thought they would. And so they were fearful of having a bunch of upfront commissions out there and then no way to recoup it in case there was a chargeback. It's not very common, but it can happen. So the more upfront commissions that you have in your system is going to increase this number. So the reversible commission. So let's say you do a deal that would pay, so you chose upfront versus residual. Think of it better this way. Upfront is annual, residual is monthly. So you chose annual versus monthly, which means if the commission was $12,000, that means that every February, let's say, you are going to get a $12,000 commission each February for the life of that customer, which if you got $12,000 up front, then it is going to put $12,000 in your reversible commission. Now, as time goes by, that will dwindle down. So in 6 months, that number will drop to 6,000 because you're only at risk if that company went out of business at that point, half of that upfront commission, versus if it was all residual or monthly, you'd never have to worry about that. So the more upfront commission that you have is going to start decreasing your power score, giving you kind of an idea as how much risk are you putting yourself in. So the suppliers actually did not downgrade the upfront portion of the commission, but they did upgrade the residual side of it to make it more enticing. And quite frankly, I like it better. So you stand to make more money by picking monthly or residual versus upfront or annual. So if all of your deals are residual income, then your reversible commission will be 0, and then your power score will be 400, which is perfect. And the higher your power score is, the more upfront commission and residual commission you can have. And so also for frequent broker stats, as you continue to add more customers into your portfolio, after you get $200,000 worth of business in the system, then the system is going to automatically reward you with an additional 1% override on all of your business, up to 2%, 3%, and then 5%. And so it will tell you, how much more you need to put in the system in order to achieve that. So it is going to keep track of everything on a high level for you to be able to see that. You can click on the link and look at the commission forecast report or your paid commission report. So very handy to have that at a glance, and it's right there under the financial profile. One of the other things to note is the reports link. And so from the reports link, you have the ability to look at agent financial profile breakdown, auction stats, commission forecast, contract status, paid commissions, quote logs, renewals that are coming up, site traffic monitoring. So if you have a bunch of people coming to the site and they're not finishing, maybe they fill out part of it and then click away for some reason, it's going to register that information. And then so you can look at it and go, okay, I see John Smith put his name and email or phone number in there, but never consummated a deal. I need to be able to follow back up with that customer and find out. Maybe they thought they did. Maybe they thought they clicked on it and clicked away and nothing ever happened. So the site traffic monitoring is very handy. The supplier compensation structure, and then task list. The supplier compensation structure is very handy because you can look at all of the suppliers or select a supplier individually. You can look at whether you want to just look at electricity, natural gas, or both, and then whether you want to look at residential or commercial, and then for those ones that offer upfront commissions as well. And so this will give you a high level profile and a little more information as to what those suppliers offer and so forth. So that's very handy. Understanding the supplier compensation. Anytime you see this blue tab on anything that you're doing in the platform, you can click on that, and that tells you that there is a video attached that you can watch that will kind of walk you through some of that stuff. So that's very handy. Under the menus tab, which is this one with the 3 hamburgers here, under the menus tab, you have the market data overview, which is going to give you the US map. And so you can see that at some level, most of the United States is deregulated, minus, I think it's 11 states. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep. And so 11 states that do not have any form of deregulation. The green states are natural gas. The blue states are electricity and natural gas. And this is for commercial markets custom pricing. You have commercial markets matrix pricing, and then your residential markets. So you have maps for all of that. Anytime you can click on a state and it will give you a list of the suppliers that are available for that particular state. So you have a high level idea of who you're dealing with, and so forth. So that is underneath the menu, under the market or market overview, the market data analytics. Now, you can do this manually, and I do quite frequently because I'm using it when I'm looking at a specific customer. So if I was talking to a customer right now that was in Illinois or Illinois, well, it helped to pick Illinois, and they were in the ComEd utility. When I click get the information, I'm seeing 2 years of historicals. So you can see there's an overall steady climb. And so when you're talking to customers and you tell them that, based on the analytics and historicals, we're looking at 3 to 8% increase year to year, you're telling them the truth. And so you can see that here's where we are right now in the mid of February, but you can see moving forward that come March and April that the rates are actually going to start coming down. So if I do have a little time with that customer, rather than putting in the date for that contract to start right now, I might set that for March or April to give them a much better benefit, which, and sometimes it may mean the difference between getting the deal or not getting the deal, and or how much mills or commission, how much margin can I add into the deal. So if I was looking at a deal right now and we were at 5.83, and I was at 3% or 3 mils. Well, if I drop that down to 4.37, I can probably add, a couple mils in there, and raise that to 5 mils and have as much or more savings as the customer might if I did it right now versus say in March or April. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that we've actually upgraded the platform so that it does the analytics on a daily basis and then creates a report in your back office right here, which you should be checking on a daily basis. So you go to the market updates and you can see the one from yesterday. And so this is going to give you a snapshot after it's done the analytics on all of the territories nationwide and Canada to let you know where, excuse me, where you potentially should be marketing. And so commercial matrix rates lower than the utility. We can see that Massachusetts is doing very, very well. And so, and then you've got New York. Now, this changes all the time based on whatever's going on in the marketplace. And so again, natural gas for commercial, and then you've got residential matrix rates that are lower than the utility. And so if I were requesting customers, I would probably select Massachusetts because those rates are the lowest in the nation, and you can take advantage of that. So refer to that frequently, at least on a daily basis, especially if you're going to be ordering customers from the quick launch menu, which is right here, the number 7 button. So if you click on that and go to the lead request, you'll put in your name, your TruPowur email address, and your extension. So if it was 777 or whatever it is, And then from here, you're going to select the type of customer. So do you want residential? Do you want commercial? What do you want? Now, these commercial customers are commercial customers that we can only do the utility audit because they are in those deregulated states. I would focus more on those areas where, I mean, for me, residential, electric, and natural gas are going to be my primary, then electric, and then maybe natural gas. But on commercial, I'm going to want electric and natural gas matrix pricing to be available. And then maybe electric matrix, natural gas, electric and natural gas custom pricing. And so some of those states, remember when we were looking at the map, some of those were had matrix pricing deregulation, and some have custom pricing. Anytime we have a customer that has at least 100,000 kWh annually, you can do custom pricing. If they have over 1 million kWh annually, they must get custom pricing. So just kind of keep that in your mind. But we've covered the email, the CRM, the utility audit, the back of the platform, the front of the platform, the average electric rates nationwide is a very handy tool. This is updated on a quarterly basis. You have both residential and commercial markets here. And so if you're talking to a customer and they can't read their bill, or for whatever reason, maybe they can't find it, and you can, go through here and say, okay, well, I'm talking to somebody in Illinois, and it's residential. Well, the national average is 14.39. So I could copy that and put that into the system. So if I were talking to a residential customer in Illinois and I wanted to update that, I could put that right in there and hit update. So that changed it from $8 to $119 worth of savings. So that's pretty good. So very handy tool in being able to know what that is. Plus you also have the commercial. Now, as a general rule of thumb, not exact, but as a general rule of thumb, if the customer has a bill and they can't figure out, maybe because they've got a variable rate, or some suppliers just make their bills so confusing, it's very difficult to try and for a customer to identify and know what they're looking at. Take the total dollars. So if their bill was $150 that month, you can take 150 and divide it by however many kWh they use. So if they used 1,200 kWh, you would take 150 and divide it by 1,200. That would tell you that they're spending 12.5 cents per kWh. Now that's all inclusive, but when we do deals with customers primarily on residential, we're looking at fixed all in anyway. So we want to compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges. So that's another way to get to that number. And then, of course, we have the customer appreciation. Again, if you're doing residential and that customer needs a $500 restaurant cash, because their rate happens to be a little bit better, I would send them the email. And here's why. So if we go back to the pricing platform or the CRM, and I pull this up, and let's say that this was a residential customer, and I send them the residential redeem their $500, which means I got to get their email address. Either way, I got to get their email address. But this way, at least it's going to thank them for their time to redeem their $500 in restaurant cash. They're going to click on the link, and rates are always changing. We would like to compete for your business in the future. Please feel free to check rates from time to time. Go to TruPowur.com, enter a sales code of whatever your sales code, it'll automatically put it in there to apply any discounts. But actually what it does is it just makes sure that it goes into your pipeline. TruPowur is a leading provider of top-rated energy nationwide. It is our job to, as a representative, to renegotiate your current rates to something that's acceptable for you and your budget, compare energy rates and natural gas. So if they keep that email aside, or they'll go look on their own, because they don't want to do it on the phone, at least this way, you may still get a customer a little bit later because you sent them the email. Otherwise, you can certainly just put their email address in here and hit go, and that will send them their $500 in restaurant cash. You have a lot of other things that are available, 400, 300, 200, 100. You've got $100 off a case of wine, 2-night stay in hotel, a cruise, Mexico resorts, 4 nights, 7 nights, all inclusive, Mexico Caribbean. You've got some hotel savings there, fitness. I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff. So take some time to kind of overview some of this stuff. The very last is a PDF that will kind of break down each one of the incentives and how that works. And so if you look at the different things that are available, so right here you can see that if they have the restaurant cash, so $500 in restaurant cash, they will have to pay a $19.95 redemption, but then they're going to get more than actually $500 in restaurant cash. That's going to be, and they're going to get some other bonuses and things added to that will save them far more than that, but a minimum of $500 in restaurant cash. So that is available under the Customer Appreciation and Marketing Gifts tab. And of course, the launch button for the meeting that we're on today is available right there. So we have covered all of the different areas on the quick launch menu and how they kind of tie together. And I know we bounced around a little bit, but I did want to do a deeper dive in a general sense to be able to give you a good overview as to how each one of these buttons work and what you can do when you're inside that. But for the most part, you're going to spend most of your time right here in button number 1 in the email and over here in the CRM. Lastly, if you go to the quick launch menu at agent.trupower.com, I always suggest that you right click on this, hit pin, it will shrink down. And then so when you close the browser, the next time you open the browser, it may have a Google page here, but over on the left-hand side, it will always have your agent menu all the way over on the left, so you won't have to keep typing it in. It'll automatically be there for you. So fantastic. I think that we covered just about everything on the system. Oh, the free solar program. So the free solar program is pretty straightforward. It is tied to your email link. And so the free solar program obviously is available in New York, Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, Minnesota, New Jersey, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Illinois. Since Massachusetts is really hot right now, residential, commercial, I would be focusing on Massachusetts for sure, because you can do the utility audit, you can do the commercial, you can do the residential, electric and natural gas, and their solar all of the different cost centers. So you could have 1 to 7 different revenue streams coming from the same customer. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call today. We had a good call and covered a lot of important topics and subjects. Had a great Q&A session. And for some of you who don't have an opportunity to review that because they're cut out on the YouTube channel, make sure that you join us next week so that you can be involved in the Q&A session. So appreciate y'all being here, and we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye now.